8 weeks in, we made it to Halifax, and we're now going to drive back. Let's go.
Welcome to the United States of America.
Hello and welcome to the Winging It Travel Podcast YouTube channel. Join me on my journey as I travel across the world, seeking out adventures, meeting new people, and trying out new things. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. This is the first one for the USA road trip, and you would have seen us on the last episode leave Canada in New Brunswick via Compabella Island going into Maine. So let's go. After crossing the border, we're going to visit Arcadia National Park. Then we're going to go to Portland, one of the main cities in the state of Maine. Then across Conway to the Kankamegas Highway, all the way down to Manchester, to Boston, and then finally in this episode, Salem. Finally, we crossed the border into USA. I think we're a little bit nervous and anxious about it because we're not sure of the customs. But essentially, over the border into Maine, same. The roads were similar, lots of flags, and we're heading to Bar Harbor in Arcadia National Park. It's about a 2-hour drive from there. And the plan is to park up, see the harbour, walk around, probably go to a brewery and check out the sights. Now, parking in Bar Harbor is $4 an hour, fairly expensive, and it is a busy place as well, especially on the weekend. We found a space, parked up 2 hours, and walked down to the waterfront. Lovely views, nice little vibe, classic Arcadia buildings. The walk around town is very historic because obviously it's one of the oldest places in the USA for America standards, and independent houses and businesses as well. So I quite like that about the town. We popped into a local brewery called Atlantic Brewing Company. Had a few beers in there, very tasty. Parked at Walmart, had a fairly comfortable night, and then next day we're out on it. We're going to Ellsworth for a bagel and a coffee. That's where we stayed for the night. One of the best bagels I've ever tasted is up there. And then a bit of important admin for the USA is a SIM card. You can actually go into my description in this video and click on Airalo if you've got an eSIM and choose whatever one you want. But for us, we had to get a physical SIM, Verizon, $60 US. That's unlimited data. And for hotspotting, that is only 5 gigabytes for high-speed 5G data. For the rest of the time, you can still hotspot, but it's quite bad signal and not very fast. So bear that in mind. Like Canada, USA has a National Parks Pass, one of these. This is $80 US, and that is for the car and 2 people. And this gets you into all the national parks in USA and historical sites. Well recommend it, great value, and a must need if you're on a road trip and you're going across USA, because I guarantee you're probably going to go to some national parks. The quirk for Arcadia National Park is that the cities and towns in it are free to go in, but to go around the national park, which is around the cities and towns, that is when you need one of these. Or you can buy a day pass, but I think it's not worth it based on the price. Get one of these. Day 2, we drove all the way back into town to purchase the Parks Pass. We're going to drive the Arcadia Park Loop. The main activity here is to go to Sand Beach, a busy, beautiful place, very nice. Idyllic waves, nice sand. We could park ourselves up there, not too much shade either. Drove around to Jordan Pond, more of a lake if you ask me, and we thought we'll have a little walk around. Lunch at Tea House. We ordered a popover. Now in America, popover I thought was going to be a scone. It is not. It's a Yorkshire pudding. So we had that and a soup. Tasted very nice, but wasn't what I was expecting. And Jordan Pond was a little walk. We didn't really intend to go all the way around the lake. It took about 2 to 3 hours in the end. Got halfway, fairly knackered, another hour and a half back. So that was a decent walk around, but great views, still water, would recommend it. And then in the evening, we decided not to stay in Walmart for a second night. So we stayed at Paul Bunyan Campground, $41 US. The way we booked it was by ringing the guy up, literally 2 minutes before 5 p.m. He was still in the office, accepted our booking, and left the notice on the board when you get to the campground. Not much footage here. It was very hot this evening. It's near Bangor. Lots of mosquitoes, very warm in the camper van that night. But basically it's a patch of grass, a bench, and there's a swimming pool there that you can use. But finally, not very busy at all. All the amenities you can imagine, well worth the stay. Day 3 is Portland and Conway. Portland is the biggest town in Maine. Drove down there, $2 an hour for parking. You can do it on the app on your phone. And the first point of interest is Bard Coffee. Trendy, great tasting coffee. Love the vibe. Then we're walking down to the port area. Nice sea air. That classic sort of coastal vibe there, if you like. very historic as well. One of the early ports, I think, in America. Then we walked all the way to Speckled Axe. Now I have a very interesting coffee here because they use a wood roasted coffee technique, which they explain on their website. You can check that out. Great coffee, loved it. Would have probably stayed for another one, but we had to get out because they were closing. Then back to the port side for another walk. Then we drove to Conway. So Conway is a bit further on. We're driving through all these old towns. They've got flags, white buildings, the classic towns you see on the movies from America. You do actually see that in real life. Just take your time, no need to rush through those. And Conway has its difficulties with staying for the night. As I said before, each town and city has their own rules. So Walmart we turned up to has a no overnight parking sign. Online and even there physically, I think people are staying there. That's a bit of a risk. You don't want to get woken up at 2 a.m. to move on. So we decided to go to Shaw's, another supermarket, rang those guys up. They said the town doesn't like it, but we didn't know anything about that, which basically means you can stay, but don't tell us about it. So we parked in Shaw's on our own. I think there's one other camper van when we woke up the next morning. Very quiet, very safe. But just bear in mind, if you run the risk of those signs in Walmart, a police officer can come along, knock on the door and tell you to move on. So Conway was a bit of an intro into this sort of admin for staying somewhere for free. The reason for staying in Conway is because we want to drive the Kankamagos Highway the day after, and that's the best starting point if you're coming from that direction. After a fairly quiet night, we're into day 4 and we're driving the Kankamagos Highway, one of the most scenic highways in New England and in the USA, I believe. It's probably famous for the fall colours. If you pop in Google or Instagram and you search for it, you're going to see all that foliage dropping around the roads. We didn't quite see that because we're still in the summertime. You could see it's almost getting there, but not quite. So lots of greenery, a great day of driving this, blue skies, and it's about a 45-minute drive across. Lots of stops, lots of viewpoints, lots of photos, lots of colours, and just an all-round gorgeous day. Manchester is our next stop. It's going to be a coffee at Hometown Coffee Roasters. We didn't actually dip into Manchester itself. We just needed a break, a bit of aircon. And Hometown Coffee Roasters is huge. Great for sitting in. They do paper cups, unfortunately. The coffee tasted great. Love the vibe. This is a patron shout out to Laura from the Swamp Soup Stickers, who has contributed £5 to the podcast on my Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. Really appreciate it, and it helps the podcast to keep going in the future. If you're interested, head to the show notes where you'll find a link to my Patreon. The website address is patreon.com/Winging It Travel Podcast. For £5 English, you will receive some trendy stickers from myself in the post, a shout out on each episode, and also my digital travel planner by email. Thank you for your support. New Hampshire driving in general is classic movie houses, like those setback detached housings with verandas, lots of space. They all own their own bit of land. It's that classic vibe of, wouldn't that be nice? So ending the day in Salem. This is a good little commuter town for Boston, decent area too. Great campsite called the Winter Island Campground. This is situated, as you know, on an island. It's got a few beaches, a great viewpoint over the water, over the sort of harbour area, and it's got a lighthouse as well. Pretty trendy. Day 5 is Boston day trip. So we started out in Salem at Gulu Cafe, an awesome bagel and coffee, one of the best as well. And it's a half an hour train ride from Salem to Boston. It's about $16, and you're going to get into North Station in Boston, and the conductor takes the payment and gives you a ticket on the train, so you can't buy before. And this is a classic sightseeing day. We are seeing the Freedom Trail, the Italian area, the Boston Common, Old State House, and trendy cafes, of course. First cafe is Cafe Vittoria. This is in the Italian area of town. If you've seen The Sopranos and the way they talk, this area has plenty of those guys. Slick, black hair, that classic look. And the coffee was Lavazza coffee, but trendy cup. Tasted really good. Then we walked past the Green Dragon pub. This is the birthplace of Revolution. They had some meetings here to talk about it. You can go in there for a pint and some food if you want to. We walked just past it. Then we walked down Commonwealth Avenue to the Back Bay area, a bit more upmarket, newer part of town. This has malls, cafes, and we've got some pizza at a trendy little pizza restaurant which goes down under stairs, a bit like New York style. And we checked out the malls and cafes. Boston Common is a very nice place to hang out if it's a nice day. Lots of people hanging around, having lunch, and lots of greenery and trees and hills. And all in all, a classic travelling day and a huge day out in a huge city. Love the vibe of Boston, would definitely go back. Lots to see and do, would highly recommend it. The last state on this podcast episode is Salem. This is an area known for a few things. So first of all, it's famous for the witch trials in 1692. And a lot of people come here because of that, but also Halloween. So you get a lot of people dressing up, even in non-Halloween times, witch outfits, stuff like that. Fairly close to Halloween, so it's starting to get a little bit busy. I think I overheard one of the waiters saying it's getting busy now, but wait until Halloween, it's going to be heaving. And I would recommend not going on a Saturday anyway, because it's just too busy there. It's just like crowds of people come to see the stuff. So unfortunately, we're there on a Saturday, and we saw the gravestones of the people that were accused of the witchcraft, which was kind of weird to see because it's such a long time ago, but I guess you kind of feel bad for those people as well. Went to Lulu's Bakery, that was good coffee. But yeah, I love the vibe in there. Weird toilet handle, couldn't get in the toilet, but other than that, decent. Then we walked along the water, but this is a stifling day. It's hot, it's muggy, and we just kind of not want to be outside actually. We want to go to Front Street Cafe and get some aircon. Coffee was average, it was okay. After walking down the Artists Row, which is a nice little street with some cafes and some art, we decided to end the day there and walk back to the campsite, which is about a 35 to 40 minute walk. All in all, Salem, yeah, I quite liked it. I think on a weekday, it's okay. On a weekend, just too busy. But great access links to Boston and to other states and cities too. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. On the next episode, we're going to carry on down the East Coast via Providence in Rhode Island, into Connecticut, into New York City and the New York State, also including a very special trip to Woodstock. So a very exciting episode ahead. Thanks for tuning in. Please follow and subscribe my channel. I really appreciate the support. See you next time. Please follow and subscribe on my YouTube channel today, and please rate and review the podcast on any podcast platform that you use. Thank you.